I'm Rhett.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're the House Dads. Because we're dads who sell houses.
But we're also husbands, business owners, sports freaks, Christians.
Friends, marketing nerds, TV show bingers, and so many more things.
Like so many of you, we're just trying to do it all. We're trying to do it well.
And that's what we're here to talk about.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the House Dads podcast. You're in for a treat this time. We have the Johnny Lombardi here on set. Glad you're here, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's going to be fun. I'll tell you guys that this is the first time that Johnny and I actually got to sit down and meet and talk, but I feel like I've known you for a while. We've kind of run in a few similar circles, and I don't want to give too much away about what we're about to get into, but I've got to meet a lot of your protege, some people that have spoke really highly of you, and then you are now at the school that I went to, my alumni, Denham Springs, represent.
Come on.
And so I've gotten to watch from afar a lot of the fruits of your labor, not only just the people that you've invested into, but the actual product that has been put out. And I just love it, man. I just admire it all from afar. It's excellent. It's something that I brag on that like my school is doing that so many others are not. But even more so, not just the product that you produce, but the people. Everybody I've ever talked to, all the students that have come through, said, man, we love Coach Lombardi. We love Johnny. We love, like, they just, it's cool. I'm glad to have you here today, but enough of all that. You got a little bit more of a personal relationship. We were just talking about getting roasted in the fantasy football chat. So you could talk a little bit more about all the other stuff. So Rhett, take it away.
So what Brandon was trying to say is expectations are high.
Yeah.
So I hope you brought the heat.
Following up the house moms with this, man.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Oh, boy.
No. Yes, Johnny and I, we go back. We were trying to figure out the math of how many years. We landed on 2015.
Yeah, about that.
We went to the same church, and we were in the trenches with leading the youth in church. Mm-hmm. Man, that's the hardest job ever.
Yeah.
I've heard it's tough.
Yes. Yeah. No, but we were both in the leadership capacity with trying to figure out how to lead youth and their youth struggles, and two guys that are struggling themselves. Like, all right, guys, well, let's try to figure this out together. But, going through that and some hard things with youth, naturally the leaders get closer to, right. And of course that kind of went into after we did that, being in the same group of friends, same circles. We're in a dynasty football league. We're just talking about how that league, we started out, we were both a little hesitant, like, this is not going to last.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it, 8 years now?
Yeah, 7 or 8 years.
Same
it's
group
impressive,
of guys.
Man.
Yeah.
And I have won the championship 1 year. Early on,
yeah.
I think I may have peaked too soon. Johnny's still fighting for it.
Zero championships.
But that's the thing
We're
about a
working our way
dynasty.
there. Yeah.
That's the thing about a dynasty. You're building the foundation.
Oh, yeah.
One day it's just going to be
rebuild.
year after year after year.
I'm just there for the friends.
That's it. There for the fellowship.
What is the trade that you get harped on so bad for?
We don't need to talk about
Okay, sorry.
that doesn't need to be public information.
Well, shoot us a DM
if you want to
know what the trade is, but he gets constant stuff for it. But either way, yeah. So we've grown pretty close through that regards, and then of course, kids come in the mix, and then careers, and you lose a little touch. But when we were thinking about guests. Believe it or not, Brandon is the one who mentioned it. I was like, yes, that's incredible. Yeah. So, we're happy to have you, man. And we're excited to kind of dig into who you are and what you do and how you do it, all the ins and outs. So giving you the floor a little bit to kind of give us a snippet of or it doesn't have to be a snippet, give you as long as you want, man. Yeah. The floor is yours. But who you are for people who, people who don't know you, what you do, just a little bit about your story.
All right, so I am currently a teacher at Denham Springs High School right here in town. This is actually my 5th year teaching, which it seems crazy that it's been already 5 years since coming down here and being here. I'm originally from Chicago, so Chicago. No connections to Baton Rouge, Louisiana at all.
Yeah. City of brotherly love.
Yeah, love it.
Just kidding. Is that Philadelphia?
I'm not from Philadelphia. I'm not an Eagles fan.
The Windy City.
The Windy City. Windy City. So grew up, born and raised in Chicago, and really had no plans ever to leave. Like, family's all there, really kind of had no reason to leave. But ended up actually deciding to come down to LSU for college because of the Manship School, College of Journalism and Communications was the path that I wanted to go into college. And the big reason for that actually was my high school had a really big broadcasting and video program. So that was a huge part of my life. Growing up, and then in my 4 years in high school was kind of doing not exactly, but very similar to what
you're doing
DSTV
now.
is now.
Really cool.
Right? So that was a huge formative time for me to figure out, hey, I really love this stuff. I want to go try to make a career in this.
Yeah.
Came down and visited LSU. Decided I just kind of fell in love with the campus, fell in love with Baton Rouge, and it was a huge risk. My parents weren't quite sure of, are we okay with this?
Right.
Is this going to be good?
Right.
But I wanted to do it. Didn't know a single person, and came down for my freshman year, and was really, really homesick that first semester.
Yeah.
It was really rough.
Were you LSU fan growing up? Or
No.
No. Okay.
No, literally like zero.
You're like, let me just see what happens.
Yeah.
So brief
no
pause
connection.
on the story. Did you
Yeah.
grow up in like Kevin McAllister's subdivision outside of Chicago?
Not quite. Yeah.
Or was it like suburbs of Chicago? I've only been to Chicago a couple times and I love it.
Yeah, it's a
I
great
love
city.
that's
Yeah.
all I've done. But
It's a great city despite its many flaws. It is
Sure.
there is a beautiful part of it that
Yeah.
is
Sorry,
nice.
Chicago listeners.
Sorry to all my
Yes.
hometown listeners. I grew up in the west suburbs. Kevin McAllister, Home Alone, is a
Yeah.
little bit more in the north suburbs.
Okay,
so if
cool.
you want to go see the
Cool.
Kevin McAllister house, you can.
Yeah, yeah.
It just went on sale, I think, recently.
Yeah, I
for
think I
like
saw
a
that.
lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, it was not cheap. But it's
Yeah.
a very nice area of town. Winnetka
Yeah.
is very nice.
I also built a Lego set of
Yeah.
Kevin McAllister's
Follow
home.
Brain on Social.
Yeah.
You
You know
kids
how.
built that.
Yeah, all of them, not me. Sorry, that was just important. It was on my mind. I had to say it. you know,
Chicago's
so.
great. Visit in the summer if you can. There's a lot to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so grew up there and then came down here to LSU. Rough first semester, but then that second semester, freshman year, got plugged in and started working at Tiger TV on campus. All right, and so once I started that, just the homesickness went away. I fell in love with it. It just was like, this is great. I'm loving it. Worked in a bunch of different capacities during college at LSU, at Tiger TV, reporter, producer, anchor on our news and sports show.
Cool.
Sports director for a time, game day show host, all sorts of different things, building those skills. Graduated from LSU, and before that, I had interned at WAFB for a summer here in town, which is an awesome experience, working with Steve and Jock, and I believe it was Chris Hagan at the time, who was also there. And that was a huge moment for me to kind of get into what an actual professional thing looks like.
Right.
You know, because when you're in college, you have so many different, you know, do I go like the ESPN route? Do I go more creative route? Do I go the local news route? Where in the country do I want to go? There's all sorts of different things or options that you have. And so getting to intern there was huge for me. Graduated, got hired at WAFB, worked there as a morning show producer, and also as a sports producer and reporter. It's kind of like a fourth man type deal.
What years is that?
This is about 2016. So I graduated in winter of 15. So 2016 was my first year.
I'm marking big sports moments and things in my mind, and I'm sure you got to cover a lot of cool stuff.
So 2016 was a wild year, if you remember. 2016 was crazy, and I was in like news that whole year. So I was on the morning news show locally here. Think about all the things even locally that happened in that year that were just crazy. The flood, all sorts of different things. And so that was a huge learning experience for me, first year out of school, in a news setting, which I hadn't really done news. It really had just been sports. So doing news and doing sports on top of that, it was a lot of, it was tough.
What time do you have to get to the studio for a morning show?
I had to get there at 3. So like my schedule was completely flipped. So it was like, wake up at 2:30, get in at 3. My shift was 3 to 9 through those morning shows. 9 a.m. If I had a sports assignment, maybe it was like a football practice or something that was kind of in the morning or early afternoon, I'd have to kind of hang around and go do that and get that done. If I had something at night, maybe I'd go home and nap a little bit and then come back. If I had nothing, I would go home and blackout curtains like this, try to sleep.
I think I remember those days. Were we still doing youth at that time?
Oh, yeah.
I remember youth, of course, they don't exactly want to hang out except for later hours.
No, of course.
Yeah.
So you're like, hey, man, I got to work.
I got to go to bed. I got to wake up at 2:30. So juggling like things like that outside of work, juggling kind of almost like 2 jobs in one. It was quite a year. Quite a year.
Wow.
So going from that, ended up leaving WAFB in 2018, I believe, in spring of 18. I just kind of wasn't really able to move up, and I had an amazing time there. There's wonderful people there. A lot of amazing relationships with people who were there, but just kind of felt like I was ready to leave. And actually, I moved back up to Chicago
Really?
Yeah, fully with the intention to pursue a media job somewhere in Chicago.
Sure.
I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but that's kind of what I was going for. And got up there, and that summer was kind of, applying for different jobs, broadcast, but also kind of creative stuff, all sorts of different things. Nothing was really hitting. And I was at a block party, and one of my neighbors is a high school teacher at a local high school. And he said, hey man, like if you're looking for a job, like we're looking for, special ed paraprofessionals to come in, and, I trust you, I know you, it would be, something to kind of, that you could do, if you think you'd be good at it.
Right.
And so I thought about that a little bit, and I'm like, I have got no job right now. I'm not getting paid.
Sure.
Like, okay, maybe I would be good at this. Like, I've never been in an educational setting. I've kind of had a thought before, like, maybe because of the good experience I had in high school with media stuff,
Right.
I kind of always in the back of my head was like, I think I could be good at teaching video in that capacity.
Yeah.
I never really pursued that, but I thought I could see myself being decent at that.
Yeah.
Got hired at this school and was a para for that whole year at this school, and just kind of fell in love with the school atmosphere and being on campus, being a teacher, helping these kids. It was an incredibly rewarding experience. I loved it a lot. And then got to do some sports stuff with that school. So they had a PA announcer who was kind of getting older, and he's like, hey, if you can come in and you have this experience, can you come in and help with like wrestling and soccer and these different things? And I was like, sure, I guess. And so stepped in and kind of did that for them, and did public address in the welcome to in the arena for wrestling and for soccer. And so that was really fun. I actually coached freshman boys volleyball that spring also.
Oh, that's
and so that was just a blast. Like one of the most fun experiences I've ever had was coaching that year. And then through that, I had maintained a relationship with Kelly Jones, who I had gotten to know, who I'd gotten to know while I was at WAFB pretty well. And him and I had just kind of been talking throughout that year of, I'm teaching now, great, cool. Ever thinking about coming back to Louisiana? Well, maybe we'll see. And we had just kind of been talking, and then he reached out to me in the spring and said, hey, we're opening up this new STEM center at the old Southside Elementary. We want to do a video media type of program. We don't really quite know exactly what, but we have a few guys in our school right now who are really doing that stuff on their own, and we want to kind of provide them a space. One of those guys is sitting right over here.
That's pretty cool.
And they said, you're kind of the first name that we thought of maybe now that you're kind of in education, reaching out and seeing if you'd be interested. Yeah. And that kind of, it just was basically an immediate yes for me of just thinking, I still have a lot of, friends and community down in Baton Rouge. I loved living here. And then getting to go to a school where I get to kind of start teaching right away and build a program from nothing and kind of just see where it goes. And so that's the crazy roundabout path of how I got from Chicago to Denham Springs.
That's an honor of like, hey, they know you moved away.
Yeah.
And to still reach out, because that's a big ask.
Yeah.
Could you move all the way back down here?
It was an incredible honor and very humbling, and just so thankful that they thought I was worthy for the task. Man. Yeah.
Well, it's neat to hear it full circle for you, because I can connect some dots in there. Kelly Jones, my principal, incredible guy. And then, like Johnny mentioned, Caden is behind the camera, produces our podcast, films our podcast. He does all of my real estate videos, all of our church content, and coming up in your program as well with his brother and so many others that are making careers out of things they learned, and had your help with is pretty incredible. So tell us a little bit more about the daily, your daily processes now. Like what you guys are producing so much incredible stuff at DSTV, and just tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing, what the normal week looks like for you, like sporting events and all the other stuff you're attached to. Tell us a little bit more about those responsibilities and job duties now.
So basically, on the classroom end of it, I'm still teaching regular curriculum of our STEM, LSU STEM, film, media classes. So I am in the classroom during the day in terms of, okay, we have basic film this hour, I got advanced film this, and so teaching through those classes for those younger kids who are coming up, or whatever kids who are choosing to take those classes. So on a week or a day, teaching that curriculum, and then every other day we have our DSTV class, right? So our kids who have applied and gotten into DSTV, they are in our 7th hour class, and that's kind of what I call a creative study hall, right? So they come in and it's kind of like, hey, we got this stuff on the docket or whatever you're working on. This is your time to work on it, right? Yeah. So they'll work on that in class. You know, we'll talk about, okay, we got these games going on this week. We got football Friday, whatever. Let's, schedule it out. Whatever, it's not just video that we have, right? So we do a lot of photography. So our photographers, maybe they're editing their pictures. We do a ton of graphic design. Right. So our kids who do, posters or graphic design, hey, we got girls soccer tomorrow. We need a game day graphic. Do that and have it done by the end of class, right? Yeah. So a whole bunch of different people kind of working on different stuff. It's hectic in terms of the amount of games that we have, especially this month in January. Man. People, you kind of would think that January would be a slow month. Football season's over. It's January. This is probably our busiest month of the year because you have 4 teams playing. Soccer, both soccer teams and both basketball teams. All right, so we got games this month where we have 3 games a night. Yeah, it's wild. And it's, so trying to manage that, balance that. Where do we go? Where do we not go? Who's available? Is tough. But, and we have our documentaries that we're producing. So we have All Access right now. It's our girls basketball documentary, kind of like a Hard Knocks. Yes. Following the team, which has been an incredible, it's been so much fun. This is the first year we're doing something like this. And it's just been a blast to follow the team. They're number 2 in the state right now, which just helps it be so exciting. Yeah. So that's been so fun. We had summer season this past summer, was a football documentary. We had the robotics documentary last year that we're doing again this year for the robotics team. So all sorts of different kind of projects, hype videos, documentaries, just regular kind of, we'll probably get into this later too, but with social media, with Reels being so big, we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we take our long form stuff and make it into short form? Right. How do we do that? Right? What's the deliverable method where people are going to want to watch and consume, and how do we measure that? Yeah. Is kind of the challenge.
I think what's neat is if you haven't seen the type of stuff that you guys are putting out, you may be thinking, oh, these may be high school students that are putting out, I hesitate to say this, but like high school quality stuff. Yeah. This is next level stuff. Like these are things immediately when professionals are hiring folks and everything like that. This is the type of excellence, the type of quality that you would expect of any professional. And these are high school students under your guidance and leadership being able to produce it, from just the walking on the football fields and you see the graphics with the player cards and like the different stuff out there, from the social media posts and the schedules and the videos. Look, the All Access that he's doing with the girls basketball team, I'm like, Netflix picked this thing up. Like, cause it's like, man, it's such good quality stuff. And so I love it.
And I appreciate that. And it's all true what you just said. It takes buy-in from the kids for that to even be a possibility. It took buy-in from those guys 5 years ago to kind of just start getting those balls rolling, and for kids to kind of pick up and believe, like, oh wait, like we actually can do these things. We can do really cool stuff. We can be passionate about this, to the point where like that foundation was built, and 4 years later, we have students who have their own equipment or they have the ability and the hunger to go out and actually do it. To be an executive producer on something like All Access, which we have, it's student produced, so and cool. I'll shoot video for it sometimes, but as much as I can get, hey, we got 3 kids coming to tonight's girls game, y'all are all shooting, I'm just sitting here. That's awesome. And so like for me, that's the best, when I can like not have to be there or have to do it, and they are there. That's the best for me.
That's cool.
Yeah, that leads in pretty well to the next question. But my experience from my high school, the class that you mentioned, we had a TV productions class, and everybody wanted to do it solely because the teacher did not he didn't care anything. I don't even know how we got graded in that class. We just literally walked around school with a camera and made stupid videos. You talk about high school level videos.
Yes, that was high school.
We were high school level videos, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong, but by no means there was no passion in what anyone was doing. Yeah. So that kind of leads into like the next question of, you went to school, you started in broadcasting and like not necessarily teaching. Was there an ounce of you when they asked you to come back, or when you started any sort of teacher capacity of like, I'm gonna have to put up with like kids who just don't care, or how do you give passion to a high schooler who doesn't know what they're going to do with their life? Like, was there an ounce of you thinking, no, teaching is not for me?
That's a really good question.
I'm sure leading youth helped.
Yeah. Okay. So that did help, having that experience early on of like, okay, how like leading a high school kid in that season of life. How do we even do that? Definitely helped. I think it would be arrogant to say that there was none of that in me. I think there's always kind of some hesitancy of like, can I do this? Am I really cut out? Like, especially with education in schools, you just never really know what you're walking into. Like, I knew Denham was a great school because I knew kids who had gone there, and I knew kind of what, you know, the culture was that I was walking into, but you just never know for sure. But I think I did have some confidence of like, I think if things work out right, I could end up doing this well and right. And with the right situation, with the right buy-in, I think I could figure it out. Especially being an outsider coming into education is a whole different, I think, mindset than someone who's been in education since college and from the beginning. I think I just see things differently sometimes, and not that that's good or bad or wrong or different. I think I just have a different view.
I think it's very
experientially coming into an educational setting, which can be very kind of structured and however it is. Coming in with that helps you be able to be flexible and kind of say, how can I take a different look at this system that is so kind of systems oriented? But it takes buy-in from the top down. So like the school district and the administration at Denham has been incredible in terms of supporting the STEM Center from the beginning, not just DSTV, but the STEM Center from the beginning. And that includes us and robotics and everything that goes on with our curriculum. So supportive. And then the admin at Denham now supportive of DSTV and what we do and the vision behind it and how we go. And without that support, it's impossible for you to really be able to build something from the ground up if you don't have that support.
I think what you mentioned is so important because I see it as a total positive that you don't have necessarily the traditional education background and you've really done this in other places and other avenues, because it's cliche and I think it's an incorrect one for some teachers where it's like, well, those who can't, they teach. Right. But that's not necessarily, that's not the case for you at all. And so I think a lot of times, like you said, the experience you had in some of those extracurricular subjects in school, it's like, oh, well, we're going to take shop class because it's easy. Yeah. We're going to take, media class because it's easy. It's an easy A. But the real world teaching and things that they're getting is second to none. So I think it's awesome that you take that approach to it.
I think it is such a huge balance too, because yes, there's the DSTV side of what we do in our curriculum that is very like intense and like, hey, like if you're going to be in this program, there's a standard, right? And that there's like, if you want to do this in college and beyond, this is for you. But then there is the other side of our film classes where like it should be fun. Like I want kids to come and enjoy our basic and our advanced film curriculum at the STEM Center and come and have a good time, right? Maybe they're not going into broadcast or media in any capacity, but they're going to learn something. They're going to, make some good videos. They're going to have fun in a different setting from maybe regular school that, they may look back in 5 years, man, Mr. Lombardi's film class, that just was fun. It was a fun year for me to take that. So I'll have those kids, right? And then there's the Cadens, there's the kids who are going into the industry, so being able to serve both of those groups of kids, I think is really important.
But exactly. And like you said, it could still be fun, but you're still learning and actually growing and being challenged, to expand what you already know. That's a big difference.
It makes me excited, but also terrified for my kids to grow up to be the high school level. I'm excited for like the lessons and like the discipline of like, hey, this is, but what you say, like there are standards in place. And I think that goes into building something out of nothing. You have to, I'm not saying you're like this straight-laced, strict person. Maybe you are. I don't know. I'm taking class.
Hadn't been in this class.
Yeah. But, setting those standards in place, say, hey, if you want to achieve something, like this is what you have to do. Our girls just started taking tumbling class, and Core Jane yesterday for the first time, like her teacher got a little stern with her of like, she was trying something, she couldn't get it, and she was like a good coach and leader does, you have to speak with authority. And she just kind of like, she didn't like that. She kind of ran to Brandy and was upset. But I'm excited for those years. And, I'm sure you're leading in that same regard of like, you got to, if you want to do something big in life, not even big, I won't say big. That's the precedent of you can only do big things. But if you want to do something fruitful or
fulfilling,
there has to be standards in place to do that.
And you have to be stretched. And I love that. Like even for students who say, I'm not going to make a career in this, but they're stretching what they already know. Exactly. And it's not staying in that bubble. That's why I tell, like, a lot of people ask me, well, I love sports, watch sport, almost anything. If it's got some competitive aspect to it, I can't wait for the Olympics. I'll watch cricket. I'll watch every single thing that goes on. Right?
What's going on, but I like it.
But, and everybody had, well, why don't you coach the boys? I love that part of it where it's like, hey, you know what? I get to be their dad at home. Mm-hmm. I like the different aspects of learning from a coach, how to deal with difficult coaches, how to deal with coaches you like, all that different stuff. It's just going to challenge them and stretch them. Yeah. And we didn't mention this in the intro, but this is our first guest that's not a dad yet.
Not a dad.
And so, with that being said, though, we made some jokes about that earlier, but
I just watched this podcast to learn about fatherhood.
Yeah, get ready.
Little do you know, you're teaching other fathers.
Exactly. You're teaching other fathers. And so I think, not to over spiritualize it by any means, but you're still investing in the next generation. Yeah. You're not fathering, but in a way, you're still being a father figure to so many. Mm-hmm. Everybody, like I said on this intro, that has come into contact with me is like, man, we love this class, but we love Mr. Lombardi. And so it's a big deal. People emulate that and take that on. So, I don't want to answer this question for you, and I hesitated how to get it there, but you talked about your transition coming back from Chicago and the job opportunity you had. I know you were doing para stuff at another school, but if you didn't have the opportunity to come back to Denham, or even while you did, I'm sure there was a part of you too. It's like, well, maybe I could hold out for something that's more glamorous or that's going to pay me more or whatever it is. Or I'm sure that there's been times, or maybe in the back of your mind, or have been presented to you clearly where you've been doing this for 5 years now. It's like, you got a pretty impressive resume of what you built. It's like, oh, well, maybe this is just a stepping stone, or what's next? Mm-hmm. It's like, how do you balance that passion over paycheck, or what does that look like for you when you think about that?
I think it's difficult because paychecks are, enticing.
Yeah.
And I think it's faulty to say that paychecks don't matter.
Oh, they do.
Because they do.
Absolutely.
Especially wanting to be a husband and a father and raise a family. That matters to be able to provide.
Yes.
But I think a huge thing for me, at least in my case, was I've seen the other side of media.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to trash anyone who's in media or the industry, but it's a very demanding, very difficult industry.
Right.
It demands all of your time. It demands all of your, resources, attention, whether that be broadcasting or I've seen people who work at LSU and LSU athletics and the demand that it takes on them to do their video work for a big brand like LSU. And so being able to see that and think, okay, I think I have the skills to potentially do that.
Sure.
But do I want to do that?
Right.
Is it worth, do I have the patience or the time to think that I would want my life to be that? And it's not, people there do incredible work, are unbelievably talented. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it's for everyone.
Yeah.
And for me, it was for say WAFB, it was I didn't want to be working every weekend, every night, every holiday until I'm 70. That's not what I want for my family. It's not what I want for down the road. Just not what I want. Yeah. And so, I think it's just funny how it all kind of worked together, how God worked it all together to get me into education out of media and that one stepping stone back in Chicago, and then to get an offer at an incredible high school and in an incredible community like Denham Springs to just hop right in. Yeah. Hey, here's a program, start it from nothing and build it up however you want.
Right.
And we're going to trust you.
Right.
It's a crazy scenario that if you would just think oh, he's making that up. Yeah. That would never happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the fact that I've been able to come here and kind of settle and realize I think I'm pretty good at this. I love it. I enjoy it. This is a kind of a stable life that I can build.
Right.
While also, like you said before, the opportunity to invest in the next generation, invest in kids who are going to be adults, many of whom will stay in Denham Springs, stay locally here, and not just that, do they go on and crush it at LSU or wherever in media, but are they good citizens? Are they good fathers? Are they good moms? Are they, whatever they go into?
Yeah.
Am I helping establish a healthy culture at Denham Springs High School and in the community here where people are going to want to be here, people are going to want to stay here, and that we're going to have impact on the community as a whole? I think that is so rewarding. When we talk about vision of being able to look years ahead, I think that helps be able to say, okay, I'm not just stuck here in Denham teaching DSTV. I actually love it and have vision for the good that's with it.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, I feel when are you hopping? I'm I have no plans to hop anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not looking,
just
not
here.
interested. I'm just not. And Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that perspective is so neat.
Yeah.
That it's not that I have to do this. No, you get to do this. Yeah. It comes out in everything that you do, and it flows into the people that you work with. That, hey, I'm passionate about this. Your quality of life is not determined just on the ability and the amount of money that you make. Yeah. But on the impact that you're having and the quality you want already for your family. And I love that. I admire that. That's big. It's big.
I think there's a lot of people listening or just in general that they feel stuck. Right? Yeah. They maybe chose that route of, all right, this one is going to make me more money. It's the paycheck. And then you build a life off of that paycheck. Right. And you don't feel the fulfillment off of what you're doing, So that speaks volumes to anyone who is at the crossroads of like, all right. Yeah. I'm not saying, you're not doing well, but it's more so just like you chose fulfillment in a higher calling than what others may have.
And I think too, like, the money can and will come, right? It's not like there are other ways to earn, to figure out, and it's not that money and salary is not important, because it is, but I wouldn't want to sacrifice future family stability and future fulfillment on just a paycheck, because I think this is some kind of status that, I may get by this job or look cool or whatever. And it's not that those people, I'm not saying that people who do that are after those things at all. Right. But just for me, it just wasn't the route I wanted to go. Yeah. And then,
One of my favorite quotes, and you may have heard it, is God's will, God's bill.
I have heard that a few too many times.
Probably a little out of, either way. I
haven't heard that, and I'm not sure. We might need to edit that out the podcast.
It just rhymes. That's the only reason people
check
say
in the theological accuracy of...
Jeez, you got me shook, man.
You never heard that?
Like, no,
that was a total jab at, we have heard that. We're like, whoa, that's like theology.
I'm going to have to work on a new sermon series. Let me take notes.
There's people who believe that, man. You should do it.
They do believe it. You know what? He'll provide.
Yes. That's right. Brandon and I's industry, we're 1099 employees. We got the goals. We have the sky is the limit, income. We just have our definition of success. I say ours, but the perception of our definition of success is like, hey, how much have you sold? How many houses have you sold? Yeah. And, just there's a lot of occupations in that same realm of they measure their success or what they get out of their job by how well their stats look or their income looks. Right. In your I guess your definition or your realm of your industry, what does success look like to you? I mean, what at the end of the day, at the end of the school year, what helps you chalk up a year as like, all right, this was a good year, or it's hard to say bad year. There's good moments and good bad moments of every year, but like what's kind of helps you feel accomplished and makes you feel like, hey, I'm doing something. This is successful.
Yeah, I guess education's hard because you can't super quantify everything as much as they'd love and want to try to test score.
The metric for this,
the metrics, and they have all their numbers. It's hard to quantify. Like, I had 38 students who turned out to be good citizens. Like,
my goal this year is 38 students.
And in 10 years, I want 14 good dads. Like, it's just, you can't like project it like that. And so it's difficult in that perspective. To look back and say, what's successful. I think, but there is that part of it where I'm like, hey, so how many kids are going to maybe LSU or Southeastern to pursue media or creative careers? Like, to me, I that's a success, right? They have chosen that route to go, or to any university, or even kids who they don't go to college and they go straight into doing their own photography or their own business. I think I chalk that up as that's a success, right? So they're on their way in their career working. That's very successful. So I look at, I guess, the result of that, of kids who are, and I guess even kids who, like me, go out and do it for a little bit and realize maybe I don't want to do this or do something different. Great. Yeah. I want you to do something where you're fulfilled, or that you take the skills that you learned with you into something else that's a little bit different. Maybe it's like public relations or more marketing related. A lot of those skills overlap. So in terms of actual, students graduating or moving on, I think that's one way to measure success. Are we preparing kids for the professional field and college? And I think that kind of helped take the burden off me in my first year, where I really wanted to. I was like, oh God, I got to teach them everything. I got to get everything, and I had to realize that I'm just kind of passing them off to the next step of learning for them, which would be maybe a college program if they're to pursue media, or into, on their own.
Yeah.
I just got to get them to that point of passion for it where they can go into that next level and really take off and soar. I don't have to get them the whole way there.
Yeah.
I just got to really, more than anything, give them the passion to learn and to grow in it.
Yeah.
They can do the rest themselves, and somebody else will then take them and the rest of the way with that. As far as our program goes, I think, are we growing where we need to grow in terms of, are we assessing, okay, where do we need to change with the times or adjust for how people are going to consume? But I think also it is, are we just doing the same things really well consistently?
Yeah.
I think that's overlooked a lot, of like thinking every year we got to change how we deliver, but are we just being consistent in what we've been doing? And are the kids kind of moving through the program? Are they enjoying it? Are they growing their skills? And are we still delivering a high quality product to the community? And are we impacting the culture in the high school and in the community in a positive way? I think that's a big one. That's kind of more big picture for me of, are we helping to establish a culture in Denham where people want to be here, where kids are excited to be at school, they're happy to go to the games, they're happy to be a part of extracurriculars.
Right.
I think it's just, I had an amazing high school experience. A lot of that was the culture at the high school that was established and that was there. I think that impacts so much how a student perceives those 4 years of their life.
Yeah,
For sure.
If you have a bad culture at your school or it's just dysfunctional, you're not going to look back fondly, and that's a really rough way to get set up.
Yeah.
But it can be a really healthy launching pad if it's a community and a school that's healthy, excited to be there.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's perfect.
No,
Denham Springs is
sure.
not a perfect school. We're not perfect, not a perfect community. There's always areas we can grow and do better, but are we providing students a healthy culture and a healthy place where they can enjoy a 4 years where they look back and feel like, wow, that really set me up for whatever way I'm going to go and do that. So I think DSTV has played a huge part in that the last 5 years, from a big picture of kind of providing that excitement and energy back into the campus a little bit. And I view that kind of as one of our biggest things of, we're like the front porch for the school online.
It's a good way to look at it.
Anytime that people look up Denham Springs on social media or on YouTube, first thing that pops up is usually our stuff and our account. Okay, so how are we presenting what it means to be here at Denham Springs, what it means to live here? And I tell the students all the time that, like, we're the front door. We're the front gate of people who are looking into, athletics or whatever here, and it's a big thing to remember.
Maybe we need to start cutting Johnny some referrals. Because you might be getting people who are Googling move to Denham Springs.
I know.
And we might be reaping the benefits.
I think
so.
You want to move. Have you seen their documentary?
Have you seen their high school media program?
Have you seen the robots they made?
But it's a great point, because it is so forward facing. And I've seen how far you guys have grown it already. Like, just getting to see it grow over the last 5 years to where it's full on Netflix level documentaries. And I told Johnny before, listen to the Brett Beard show every single week. Like, I'll sit there, and as a part of my weekly routine, I'd wait for it to come out so I could get ready for the game on Friday. And so it's so forward facing.
I love that there are people, fans out there, community members who are interested, who are watching, at the same time enjoying the content, but they should have pride in, wow, our high school students are doing these things, and that this stuff is happening here, especially families with young kids, of like, okay, cool. Like, there are cool things happening at this high school that my kids are going to get to grow into one day, that are being established right now and being grown out right now.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And so with how far you guys have come over the last 5 years, it's a challenging question to ask, but I'm sure you're thinking about it. You mentioned, not having to reinvent the wheel every year, that you really want to do it consistently and whatnot. But when you look at the next 5 years, what's to come for DSTV, the program, students? What do you envision goals wise and plans for the next 5?
That is a tough question.
Yeah.
I actually had a 5-year plan 5 years ago when I got hired, and I haven't looked at that in a while. This makes me want to go back and say, okay, what did we actually accomplish? But I think it is important to have vision long term and say, okay, I would love to shoot for this. Maybe we'll miss it in certain ways, but at least we're kind of trying to plan. There were things 5 years ago that I was like, we're going to do this and this, and even telling Caden that first year, we're going to do this, and we didn't do any of that stuff. We went in a completely different direction, and that was great. I think live streaming is a big one that was a plan 5 years ago and just wasn't able to come together. Is something I would love for us to work towards. I know the radio broadcast has started doing their YouTube channel. The biggest problem with live streaming is just the cost, and the facilities are there now with the new facilities, so the facility isn't really that much of an issue, but the equipment cost and then I guess just labor. You know,
Yeah.
I can't do what we do now and run a full
Right.
live stream broadcast.
Right.
So it becomes all right. Can we have more staff who can come in and do the live stream side of it, which isn't really my expertise, but we can have like a under one umbrella type thing.
Yeah.
So I would love for us to get that kind of hammered out and settled in 5 years from now, looking back. Hey, we have like a actual live stream broadcast for all of our athletics.
Yeah.
That we can provide for fans.
Selfishly, I'd love it. Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
I would love that. That was my world actually in high school, was broadcast.
Yeah.
Like live broadcast for games. Went away from that a little bit when I got to LSU, but that's originally kind of where I started and what our high school provided to our community.
I think it's a little easier for a lot of people to go out to a Friday night football game, but it's even probably the other stuff. Like it's hard on a Tuesday night with kids to get out and go to a basketball game or to go to a soccer game. But those other sports would even be probably even greater served than probably I think football.
Yeah. And you can throw it up on YouTube, on the phone, on the TV, and that would be, I think, the next level of
love it.
If we could work our way there, but it'll take a lot
Takes some time.
Interesting
manpower.
Interesting thing about, because like coming from a business world, like we want to have goals. We hire people to do it. And we try to. You're at the mercy of like, hey guys, public school. Like, can we?
Can we hire someone? Can we pay them well enough?
Exactly.
And can we? What's the? Is there someone who wants to be like?
Yeah.
I think. And I've always said this, that the model for DSTV is not rocket science. I feel like I could go to any high school and say, if you can hire the right person, you can do these steps of establish your social media presence, start doing just videos, find kids who are interested, and just year after year build it. I feel like the template is there for any high school that's trying to do media stuff. But it does come down to resources and just baby steps. But
we'll put a link right here to a Venmo.
Venmo, you can just send it straight to
Johnny.
Now, this is off the cuff, okay? So you can plead the fifth, but I hope we have enough time. But just when you mentioned something about, kind of vision for the future, in our industry, in a lot of industries, because there's so many people doing what we're doing, we can kind of create and repackage and put it out. I don't see, at least locally, a lot of high schools doing what you're doing. So how do you come up with vision, like fresh and new stuff? What's your creative process that you're like, hey, we're going to do this all access thing. We're going to do the Brett Beard show. I know those aren't novel and new ideas, but how do you, and then I'm sure you got student requests too. It's like, hey, let's do this. How you filter through that creative process and make those decisions and whatnot?
That's a great question. Because you're right. There are not a lot of other schools doing exactly kind of what we're doing. I would love to see other schools start doing, the kids are sometimes like, oh, I don't want Central to start. And I'm like, I want them to, because it's great. It's good for them. It's good. Like I want other schools to start doing stuff like this. I think I watch a lot of colleges. I watch LSU. I watch SEC big school, and they're kind of branding and how are they doing these hype videos? How do they do their graphics? How do they, like we do the share the W's on social media. I only started doing that because I saw Alabama was doing it a few years ago, and I was like, that's easy content, easy clicks for us to get, for people to share, to get back to us. We're doing that, and so I think it's just kind of having your eyes open to, what are some things that other colleges or other places are doing? How can we emulate that in our own way? Things like All Access was kind of just, I think we're so heavy on football a lot of the times. I was like, I want something that is going to be educational for our kids, but that can focus completely on one other program on campus and kind of give them some attention for that whole year of what is it like year beginning to year end for girls basketball or whatever. That, something like Hard Knocks is kind of like the inspiration of that. So how do we take something like Hard Knocks and boil it down to, what can we realistically do here with what we have and apply it to us?
That's cool. I love that. Great answer.
It's encouraging and fun to think about like college years or early years, and you're getting a degree. You think you may know what you're going to do, but you also don't know at all what you're going to do, and think of where you are now of like, oh man, like I would have never thought I'd be where I am today. It's encouraging to think about, and it can be encouraging or discouraging, however you choose, to think about the next 10, 15 years. And it's exciting. We're young. We've got a lot of life left. So we can do some really cool things with what we're doing, whether we're in the same field or a different field. But it's awesome, man. I think I'm going to go a little rogue too and ask one question. What would you attribute the success of DSTV to? Any sort of, does it boil down to one thing or?
I think it just is buy-in. Like, I think I could have all the vision in the world. We could have all of the equipment in the world, and that wouldn't be a substitute for kids and students buying into being passionate about it.
Yeah.
And an administration in a school that is like supportive and all in and ready to help and trusts me to run it, and kind of given that liberty and flexibility to build.
Yeah.
Without that buy-in, I don't think it could run. But especially on the student side, if we had 2-3 kids and it was just kind of, they weren't really excited about it, it wouldn't be able to grow.
Yeah.
But the fact that our basic and advanced film classes are packed out every year, where we have to cut kids from those classes because we don't have enough space.
Yeah.
To the kids who are applying for DSTV, where we just can't take everybody right now, and I told the students we had that Superdome stuff we did in December, which was
awesome.
just an unbelievable honor for the LHSAA to hire our kids to film those videos and make those recaps for them. I told the kids, like, it's an honor to wear this around this campus, right? This isn't just everybody who has the passion and the excitement to do what it takes to do this, right? This is hard stuff. This isn't easy. We just spent 3 days in the Superdome and a whole week editing. We're tired. Half of us are sick now. Like, this is not easy.
Yeah.
But it just shows the amount of buy-in that the kids have and excitement and passion for it. And I tell them all the time, like, you never know what your life will look like in 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Right? You may, go into this industry and you may not.
Yeah.
But either way, I want this experience to be formative for you, where you take skills from this program and you use them somehow in whatever you're doing in life. And that you look back fondly on not just the clicks and the numbers, but the time that you spent in this program with each other.
It's great,
That's the goal.
Yeah. It's transcended. That covers industry, that covers fields. It's like, hey, wearing that, what you represent on your chest means something. You've given them ownership. Yeah. They take it on and it's next level.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
And it all starts somewhere. And it started, not to give you a big head, it started with you saying, yes, I'm buying into the vision.
Coming to Denham Springs and we're building it up.
Yeah.
That's it, man. That's it.
Well, you ready to land this plane?
I think so. Some rapid fire stuff.
We're going to hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Just one each. Don't stress.
I changed mine. So
I just changed mine.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you a basketball question, but being from Chicago, I figured your answer would be guaranteed Michael Jordan. So I was just like, I'm gonna leave it out.
I'm actually shockingly not a big basketball guy.
Really?
I grew up hockey and baseball.
Come on, man. I asked you a Blackhawks question. I don't have any.
I'm not going sports question.
Okay,
I'm actually going to set you up, and you may see where I'm going with this.
Okay.
And either or, and take it where you want.
All right, come on.
Would you rather Cane's or Chick-fil-A?
You already know the answer to that, bro.
Yeah.
I do, but everybody else doesn't.
Cane's 7 days a week.
Come on, man.
I actually can't eat Chick-fil-A because I have a peanut allergy.
Oh,
But
Never had Chick-fil-A.
Never had Chick-fil-A. But I've been told by like my allergist, he was like, actually the proteins in the oil, you actually can eat it. I still haven't.
You got to test it now.
Everybody says that.
They all say that.
You got to test it now.
Someday
Listen,
maybe.
my 2.5-year-old has a milk allergy, and his allergist said, "Well, if it's baked, it's fine." So, you
tested it out.
Oh yeah, we've tested it out. He's
You didn't
okay.
even have a choice.
So yeah, you could do this
Someday, maybe I'll have a Chick-fil-A party. I'll have all my friends
That
over,
would be
and I'll
cool.
just take one bite.
You should. He did it.
I'll share a quick story. Hope you're okay
Please.
with me sharing this.
I'm good.
Whenever we lead youth, you always had your
EpiPens?
Your EpiPen.
They're in my
with you.
backpack over there. So
And Brandy was always the designated. My wife was a designated. Like she can
Right.
do it. But we were coming back from a beach trip one year.
Oh man!
And we were eating at a restaurant, and of course, when you're with Johnny, you have to obviously be honorable to that. And
Sure.
he asked,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you cook things in peanut oil?" And they said, "No."
She went back and checked.
She checked.
She
Yeah.
gave me
No.
she gave me a good answer.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person. It's actually happened this past weekend. If I'm getting a bad vibe from a waiter or a place, I just won't eat.
just gonna bow
I'm
out.
just like I'm
Yeah.
just not going.
Yeah.
Like I won't do it. But
Yeah.
she gave me a good vibe and
Good vibe. She said no. We all were eating, and you could tell Johnny was in kind of a rapid decline.
Really?
I stopped talking immediately.
He was
I knew within like 2 minutes. I was like,
We're like,
this is happening.
Yeah.
It never happened in my life before.
Wow.
20 whatever years it had never happened.
We were just like, he's probably just tired, beach trip, waves, getting thrashed on the waves or something. And then on the way to walking to the car, he finally stopped and said, "Hey guys, I think I'm having a reaction." Something like that. We're like, "What? Why didn't you tell us, dude? We're just sitting here joking around the table."
We're in a packed restaurant on a Sunday in Orange Beach, and I'm like, I'm going to cause a scene and be embarrassed forever and be on the news or something.
Did Brandy stick you?
No, we actually we drove to the hospital in Daphne or wherever that is on the way back, and they stuck me once I got there. we're probably stressed on time. I can't.
No,
tell
no,
if
you're good. You're good.
But there's a nurse who was wheeling me through the hallway of the hospital, and she just was like, "Yeah," and I just finished eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And Jonathan, our friend, starts dying laughing. And I'm like, "Well, ma'am, I'm in here because I'm having an allergic reaction to peanuts."
Put that thing away.
They all started laughing in the hallway. It was a great experience.
It was. Glad you think that.
Great
now.
experience. I'm glad you thought it
not
was.
great. It was educational.
So Canes.
Definitely
Canes.
Canes.
Clearly
Yeah,
Canes.
Maybe one day.
Well, I was looking back at our Would You Rather episode. If you're watching online, this is why I'm scrolling through my phone. But I'm just going to do it off the top of my head.
All right.
So, would you rather? This is your rapid fire. Not that one. Not that one. Would you rather marry your sister? No, I'm going to kidding. That's not how I'm going to do it. Would you rather? Would you rather the rest of your life live without music or without any type of film? Did I answer that right? Did I ask that right?
I think so.
So music or movies?
Yeah,
Music
music or movies.
That's so easy. Music.
That's his career.
I'm really not a music guy.
He listens to silence. Right?
See, I'm
Or
the
radio.
Silence.
No, I'm the same way. But then he flipped it on me and said, "But imagine a movie without music, and TV without music,
Yeah,
and all
one
that
of the
different
biggest hype
stuff."
videos. Without
Okay,
music.
so that's a great point because speaking of all access, the documentary changes if you don't have that music with the slow
that's
motion
right.
highlights.
Exactly.
It's not the same
Yes.
delivered.
But I still kind of lean towards because you think about life before with just radio, but then anyway.
Sucked.
So yeah,
It's music. Yeah, I like movies too much. I'm just not a big music guy.
got you.
Love
Got
it,
you.
man. Well,
yeah.
we really appreciate your time.
We do, man.
Yeah,
we
thank
had
y'all so
squeezed
much
him
for
in.
having me on.
Speaking
Great.
January is one of the busier months for you guys, so
Yeah.
we're honored you kind of came to do that for us. Came and shared your heart. I think it's encouraging. My vision of what the overarching theme was is completely different than what I think it kind of.
I love that.
But I love that
just
it went
more-
a different way.
yeah.
So we'll kind of
too.
see what we title it and everything.
Come on.
But yeah, hope you guys got some value out of this. We would love for you to share it with someone you think would get some value out of it. Give us some likes and follow us. Follow Johnny on social media. Go follow DSTV.
Yes.
See the amazing things that they're doing and the program that they're continuously building. And I think it doesn't really matter that Johnny is not a literal father. I think he was giving lessons that we can
100%.
all gather, all industries, all parenting, all ages, whatever. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it wholeheartedly, and we'll see you next time.